Ready?
Esti.
She looks so good.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Right.
Beautiful.
So this week, we have the option that we're going to take B'chai Bahem. We're going to live by it. This week's Parsha is Acharei Mos Kedoshim. And I brought a very special thing today because this is symbolic of the Parsha. Does everyone see this? We have to connect to Hashem on many levels. This week's Parsha has 79 mitzvahs that we can do. Some of the things we are not supposed to do, and some of the things we're going to do. We have to live in a very elevated and holy manner. So one of the things it talks about is hocheach tacheach esamecha, that you have to rebuke your neighbor or your friend. You shouldn't bear hate in your heart. Actually, it goes first, you shouldn't bear hate in your heart, and then you should reprove your fellow man. And then, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. One of the only things we all remember from school is Amar Rabbi Akiva, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, right? How many of us remember that? Right? Our tuition dollars at work, right? So that's it. What does that mean? Why is it in this order? Why not hate in your heart? Because if you hate in your heart, you're going to treat a person a certain way. There's going to be bitterness. When you're angry or hate someone, you know who it hurts? It hurts you. But on the other hand, you have to get it out there and you have to say it. And you have to reprove them, you have to help them. And it even refers to doing kiruv, because we are living in a certain elevated style, and sometimes on these trips, these women say to us, how come nobody told us all these wonderful things you do and the way you live? So we have a responsibility to uplift people and to share. But it says, v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Can you actually love someone like you love yourself? I don't know, maybe you, but it's very hard. But you have to treat them the way you would like to be treated. It said that when Hillel was approached and asked what it was that the Torah is by a non-Jew, he says on one foot, he says, don't do unto someone else what is hateful to you. So in other words, we have to treat somebody the way we would want to be treated. We have to speak to them the way, we have to share with them the way, we have to respect them the way. Another interesting part about this parsha is that it talks about respect for parents. I'm happy to have my mother here. But when it says about the parents, it says, Ish imo va'aviv tira'u. So it says Ish. Why the word Ish? Because even somebody, Ish, is usually a successful, accomplished person. So even when we become successful, accomplished, even when we have the right to do things and to look up to people in a certain way, the persons that we have to respect the most are our own parents. But why does it start with Ish imo v'aviv tira'u? It uses the mother first when it comes to Yira, and it uses the father's name first when it comes to kavod. Because we all have a tendency to respect, to love our mothers, that's natural, and to respect and to be somewhat fearful of our fathers. So what they do is they reverse it. Know that you have to be fearful of your mother, even though, in a respectful way, even though you tend to love and respect them and do for them. And the same with the father. So it's reversed in that way. What I like about this parsha is B'chai Bahem. What does it mean, B'chai Bahem? That in order to be holy, we have to be holy, we have to be Kedoshim, we have to be elevated, but we don't die by it. They said that unfortunately, during the Holocaust, there were people who were killed on Kiddush Hashem. It says very often it's harder to live in a godly manner than to die in one. That takes 1 minute. So we're not supposed to give up our life if it's something, where we're threatened, except for the 3 cardinal sins. But we have to always know that it's very, very important to live a Torah way. And when we live it, people look at us a different way, they respect us a different way. I'll just go quickly through some of the things that are in this week's parsha. There are 79 mitzvahs: to observe Shabbos, to respect parents, to correct another Jew from sinning, to give others the benefit of the doubt. Dan l'kaschus, it's in the parsha, and it's also in, of course, Pirkei Avos. Very important to look at the positive of everyone, to love your fellow man as yourselves, which means what is hateful to you, don't do unto others, to stand up for the elderly and respect the sages. So when we stand up for my mother or Mrs. Beta or Mrs. Katz, we're doing it not because you're older, it's because you're wise. So think of it that way. To deal honestly in business matters, not to steal or cheat, not to worship false gods, not to be a talebearer or tell lie. That's where Lashon Hara and Rechilos comes out of this parsha. Not to hate or embarrass another person. Because when you do that and they turn white, it's almost like you kill them.
Right.
Not to imprint a tattoo on one's body, the only one, as you know the story, the only tattoo that was worth anything or that showed what people were able to forbear was the Holocaust, the numbers on it. Not to shave one's hair and other things like that, the head. It lists the different punishments that are given. It also, in one of the parshas, goes through all the different karbanos. But most important, when we act, bein adam l'chaveira, when we act in an elevated manner between man and man, then we're going to act in an elevated manner between man and God. So what we're going to do is we're going to think of all these little plugs, not to hate, to love another of ourselves, to respect other people, not to cheat, not to deceive, not to deal falsely. Each one of these is a positive, but it's only worth something when you connect to the source. Connect to